there everyone, and welcome back to Empire Total War with Darth Maul. Last time around we took the Silesian region, and today we're gonna continue the war. However, I think what we'll do, I don't know which is best, if I do the entire Austrian front there first and then do the Russian, or if I switch back and forth. Because I kind of want to go over to the Russian front at this point. What we have left on the Austrian is, I mean, this siege I'm not gonna do. We're just gonna wait until they attack us there and finish it that way. Oh yes, I kind of forgot this attack here, where we're gonna lay siege. This one I'm not so sure that we will be victorious, but we can lay siege until they attack us. Over here it's such a big mess, so this is what's left on the Austrian front. But I think we'll jump over to the Russian and do one of the Russian battles. So on the Russian side we have two. We have the Siege of Kiev and we have the Fight of Don Visco. And I think we'll do Don Visco first. So we're gonna try and cross the river here and attack Cherkansk. And we moved forward there, so they're gonna have an army of 1200 men to kind of stop us before they have a reinforcement of almost 9,000, while I deployed 10,000 from the start. So the forces are kind of equal in them, but both have 10,000 men. So I think this one will be interesting because we have quite a lot of older Russian units, the Strelsk. And it's gonna be interesting to see the cavalry trying to cross when I've got so many pikemen. So with that said, let's jump in and have the Battle of Don Visco. And so how I've split it up is we've basically got two armies crossing the river on 2 points because, well, there's no bridge here. It seems that the Russians had set that on fire, or I don't know where the bridge is, but we're not going to cross at the bridge. Instead we have 2 crossing points, one over here and one over there. And the armies are kind of equal, so we got 7 line infantry with 4 units of pikemen, 2 cavalry in the back. This one's got 1 light infantry and 2 grenadiers. And then up in front here we've got the howitzers. This army has the cannons up here. The thing is, the cannons range go all the way to the end of the map over there, so there's no like risk of the enemy not being within range of these. But it's the similar here, 4 units of pike, 7 units of line, 1 unit of grenadier and 1 unit of light infantry, and then backed up by cavalry, in this case provincial cavalry. And with that, let's start the battle. We're gonna start off by bombarding the enemy, most likely their artillery position to start off with, and also their cavalry and stuff. What we're gonna do first is kind of make sure that we've got troops on either side. Since we've got so much enemy cavalry, I'm thinking we're gonna put spikes on our end of the crossing. Looks like they're gonna send a bloody cavalry unit across to start off with. So maybe I put the pikes first. Okay, they're actually they're gunning for it. They're gonna go across. The morons. Gonna just to kind of wreck my formation a little bit there. They're attacking the grenadiers. They're not trying to cross over here, but as I thought, and that's why I placed 2 grenadier units over here, is that the reinforcement army, or the big force, is going to come here. So that's why I put the howitzers, 2 units of grenadier, and just 1 light infantry. Well, both sides only have 1 light infantry. So let's march up this force, as we're probably going to see a lot of cavalry coming over first. We'll put the pikes first and the muskets after. Let's try not to shoot each other. Similar thing over here. I'm probably bombarding way too much my own units, so I'll tell the cannons to hold fire at this point. So it's what Strelski from Vyborgy that moved across, and they were forced away. They only actually have lost 30 men, roughly. Did we destroy the enemy's cannons? Yes, it seemed that we did. Gonna tell the cannons to go back to fire at will. It's not very likely then that we're gonna cross over here, where we got so much of the enemy coming in. So it's better if we cross here, and we'll try to stop the enemy in that position. Let's see if we can place some spikes here before too much enemy cavalry turns up. I think we'll tell the pike units to actually run. Oh, now I got all pikes. That's not good. We're gonna rush all pikes up to the front, and I'm gonna tell these pikes to stay where they are and shoot down those Streltsky that are moving across. Musketeers cross close after. Looks like most of the enemies moving over there. What range do these cannons have? Just if I need to move them. Oh, they got plenty of range to shoot at the enemy as they try to cross here. So more and more pikes are turning up to stop the enemy cavalry. And the Russian cavalry is going to have a bad time trying to go through all of this. Let's see if I can move away the two grenadier units. One of our... oh, the light infantry is retreating. I'll put the grenadiers over there. And also, these guys are not really firing. Or are these kinds of strelts moving up? Blast the bastards. It's gonna blow quite a lot of them away. Enemy general was killed as he charged straight into our pikes, the moron. I'll order them to do pike wall. That's gonna reduce the effectiveness of their cavalry quite a lot, since that's specifically to stop the cavalry. But it's mostly gonna be a bloody melee fight over there. It might be well then to move the cavalry over here. So they've got nothing now to stop the crossing here. So we'll order just the entire part of that force to cross. Gonna get the general over there. And cannons continue to fire over here. We've got some light infantry, which might be good if we focus in on them rather than something else. And then see if I can organize these pikes a little bit better. I'm thinking we might try to do some kind of 30 Years War tactic, because I still want some muskets in between here. In between all the pikes. The light infantry is moving way too close, which is gonna drag cannon shot a bit too close to our men, possibly. Gonna pull these back, so I'm thinking every other unit in between the pikes are gonna be musket, and have the pikemen slightly more forward than the muskets, so they will kind of soak up the enemy's melee charges. And then I think, because I'm not going to fit everyone, we're going to have 3 units of musket over on this side. And then what I'll do is I'll do something like this. Like that. And then we have a musket unit there. We have a musket unit there. Well, that's kind of a bit too small of a gap. Let's see if we can get the grenadiers further to the side here. And then we can get one musket there. And then one as a reserve. Tell these to fire at will. And this one to fire at will. So we've got the pikes up in front, so we'll hopefully stop any charge and kind of pick up all the melee fighting. While the muskets then will inflict heavy damage on the enemy. By moving them into kind of the pike formation, I will be able to get a little bit more room for the musketeers. And then if you can get a little bit better angle there. Or maybe I should do the pike square, because I think the pike square holds a lot better than the wall formation. The wall formation kind of breaks as soon as the enemy comes in contact with it, or as they come in contact with the enemy. So this should hopefully work with the cavalry snagging onto this unit first and fighting the pikes first, and simultaneously getting shot from the side. Unfortunately here the enemy is not really gathering up its force. It's coming in, trickling in against us. Which I don't really like. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna give our cannons orders to fire, constantly firing in this region. So now the howitzers are fired, we give it a little bit of while, and then I'll order the cannons to fire, so we'll have cannon shots coming in. So it kind of keeps almost a constant fire going in this region of cannon shot. So sometimes cannon shot, sometimes howitzer shot. And as that's happening, we're gonna get this part of the army ready. Gonna get the cavalry. Let's see. There's a lot of obstacles there, but I guess they can go in between. And then, as I have one grenadier and kind of an uneven amount of grenadier and light infantry, we'll take the hill to start off with. And then I think we'll have 4 in between the hill and the cavalry, and then we'll have 3 in between the cavalry and the river. And then we're gonna see if we can get our pikes to stand behind them. The plan seems to be working here. We have a constant fire of musket fire in between these pikes. The thing is, we don't really get to test the effectiveness of my pike formation, because the enemy just sends forward the units one by one rather than trying to build up a force over here, which is kind of sad. Mostly for the AI, not so much for me, because I'll be winning, but I think it would be a much cooler battle. That's why I try to avoid most of the time attacking the smaller units and go for the bigger one, but just because you get that big battle instead. Also, it's going to be tricky to render this one, because there's such a big difference in terms of, like, here right now I get about 50 FPS looking at this, while I only get about let's see what it falls down to. When I go into here, it falls to 30, even below 30, to like 23 at certain points. So it's kind of, if I render it to 30, all the parts which, like over here, are in 50 gonna look weird. But if I go and do it in 60, all the close-ups gonna look weird. And it's just gonna mess up the entire thing, I think. And kind of give it a weird look. You know what? Are there pikes? Oh, yes. I thought they might be doing that. Why not? Why not go over that area right there rather than cross? It's safe point. Not that many enemy troops are crossing, so I guess they are kind of clevering up. Clevering up is a weird word, a weird way of saying it. They're kind of getting smart at the situation, or getting a handle on the situation. That they know that, you know what, maybe we should try to actually build up a little bit more of a force before we try to cross. Could also be in reaction to the fact that the army on their side of the river is now getting stronger and getting kind of in position. Also, I see a lot of these units actually losing, or it says they're under fire. But cannon shots should go high enough that they shouldn't really affect them. But I'm pretty sure there is some friendly fire from the musket units onto the pike, which there isn't a lot you can do to kind of stop that. So they've got 3 regiments of horse, and now they're starting to bring in their artillery. So 2 units of artillery. Kind of tiny guns, 3-pounders. And, well, they've got a 12-pounder, which is something, but I think my cannons are 24-pounder. 24-pounder howitzer and 12-pounder artillery. They're bringing in more Streltsky. Rather large units. These are instead, of course, the kind of Russian pike units. With their bardishes. But I don't think they will work that well against my pike formations at the river. Go ahead and speed this up a bit, so the enemy kind of gets to build up their force. You know what, maybe I'll even cut this part out. The enemy has at this point got a few more units onto the map, but it seems like they're just gonna kind of throw them away. We got 1 line infantry and 1 Streltsky going in against the forces I have here, and also they've deployed the cannons and started bombarding my cavalry pretty effectively, as well as they've taken out quite a few of my riders. I think before we have some funky business over here, go ahead and deploy some spikes just so we can have a defensive position on that hill. And it looks like the enemy is gonna just march straight into this a wedge of death. However, I might want to back up the cavalry a little bit, as the enemy cannons kind of bombarding us here. Should be coming in within musket range pretty soon. So my units will open up. Oh, I forgot to tell these guys, of course, to fire at will. Luckily, it wasn't like a major supercharge by the enemy. Instead, it was this kind of slow advance instead. And the Strelts are moved into action. But it's kind of too little and way too late. if we get another major kind of shot off against them. Yeah, the Russian unit is not doing too well. We'll see the Russians off. Provincial cavalry will charge the Strelts. They are broken and sent off. Don't ride too onto that. Charge towards the cavalry instead. And then we have friendly cannon fire ripping through the lines here. But the enemy units were sent off. Let's continue on towards that line infantry. And as the enemy's attack was thwarted, the line infantry will advance. I never actually deployed spikes, so let's just advance. I told the howitzers to switch to round shot because they were out of range of actually hitting the enemy cannons. Oh, I wasn't aiming for those cannons. I blew these cannons up, so let's blow the other ones up as well. Regiment of horse and a unit of line infantry is trying to cross and go into this. So if they charge, they run into the pikes. And if they don't, they get shot down by the troops in between. My cavalry has struck the Russian line infantry regiment, which is torn up, I think. I think we're gonna win this fight. Anyways, we're gonna get support by the line infantry as they're marching up. I'm gonna tell the cannons to hold fire and then pick another target. We're gonna get the pikes actually coming in and supporting our infantry properly. And there's no need to chase these guys down. They're still getting regiments rolling in, and they're actually getting some of the specialty regiments now. The Narvsky Regiment of Foot, and a few of those kinds coming through. A cavalry fight, we're kind of bogged down here. And I don't think it's going that well for our cavalry. The line infantry unit has definitely suffered heavily. It's lost over 200 men. So that's not too bad. As the Russians are now bringing mostly line infantry to deal damage to the troops across here, I think what we'll do is we'll retreat the pikes. And then put just muskets up ahead. As the time for the Russians, their cavalry charges seems to be over at this point. And I'll also move the grenadiers over to back up the center with grenades, and then we can have the pikes in the back just in case. And the howitzers should switch to percussion shot and blow the enemy away. So I kind of want to pull back the cavalry, but it looks like the cavalry was actually successful, even though the fight was kind of bogged down. Let's see if we can pull them back. I'm going to tell these to hold fire. I was a bit too ambitious moving the troops this far out. And then once the cavalry is passed, I'll let the infantry once again open fire and blast a few volleys onto squares that the Russians have prepared for us. Which is a bit strange. And the cavalry unit definitely don't know what they're doing. Let's just keep the light infantry here, if they could. They're not going to be able to deploy their spikes, are they? just deploy in the high grass, and then the grenadier is going to do a sneaky one on these guys, which are currently firing by rank towards our line infantry. You know what? We should definitely pull up to this wall, which is kind of stupid that we didn't pull up to that sooner, since we got perfect defense kind of there. And here you go. You're gonna get some grenades. We're getting still shot in the back by the other Narvsky regiment. Here goes the grenades. And like we completely blew this guy, everything up. And he was left alone on the flank. Let's see if we can't get... Can we get another grenade throw? Or maybe I should charge them bayonets? Or just tell them to shoot them down. Got line infantry retreating, we got some strelts. Let's pull the light infantry back before we and the grenadiers before we get completely swarmed by the enemy over there. Let's see, the pikes are on the way. The weakest portion of the line is over here, so if they could try to flank there, but they don't have enough troops to occupy the entire line. So if they do, I can just turn the line. And for some reason they moved into the square, which is slowly getting destroyed. And I think, given the situation over here, that we could definitely move across. Follow with these three, and then the grenadiers, and then the pikes, and so forth. I want all the howitzers to concentrate on that one square and blow it away. The strelts are charging across the field and getting shot down as they do by my infantry behind the wall. They've only lost about 100 men crossing the field, so it's not that bad that they've only lost about a fifth. Now they've actually lost more than a fifth. But yeah, it was a bit too much charging across all that, losing so many men, and then running into the bayonets of the Polish troops. So the strelts are pulling back. Explosive shots sent away the enemy over there. But now my troops that are crossing are running into some murderous fire by the 50th Regiment. And we've got some Narvskis and Eastern European mercenaries. Eastern European mercenaries are apparently firing by rank. Which in a prolonged fight like that, that's actually pretty useful to fire like that, just because I imagine that they've got pretty high accuracy. Let's focus in on the Narvsky regiment now, as these guys are way too close, and I can see shots landing, I mean behind our troops, and one I can see actually landed in among our troops. So we blew up our own men. At this close range, I don't think the Russians will stand, as we are able to push fire onto them while they are, well, at this point they're retreating. Going a little bit better for them over here, which they've actually managed to get into close range. But since the units close by are fighting melee, I don't think it's going to last for too long. Ooh, we've got some explosive shots. that have opened up great big holes in the line of this unit. Actually pretty useful for them to be kneeling, because you can see that a lot more men have been shot in the back ranks than in the front ranks, or at least when they are sitting down. And they're actually doing pretty well. I'm pretty sure we've lost a lot of troops on the side here, but with the just constant onslaught and now the flank fire and so forth, they are forced to retreat. I want to kind of redraw the line, get a better line going. Got some Cossack infantry. Gotta get 3 extra regiment over. And then the Grenadiers closely following afterwards. Gonna be stuck in the water if I move them up there, but never mind that. Regiments of foot, European mercenaries, they still got troops trickling in. Let's see, at the Cossacks, there's 500 of them. The howitzers should do pretty well against those. And let's see if I can get the cannons to fire at this regiment of foot. Oh, the normal Russian regiment of foot is firing by rank? Unlike ours, which are firing just fire at will. Given the time though, as I can see here, the battle has last for over 30 minutes. I think it's time to make sure that we end this. So the reinforcements are turning up over there. So I think we'll just sandwich everything that comes out of there. And by that, win the day. These 3 will move up, be able to shoot down the square. The 3 that I sent in here gonna move into column and then move further out there to set up, be able to flank. This one's being sent off. They are firing it onto the pike formations moving forward. But they'll just be crushed once they actually come into contact with the pikes. And it looks like they're wavering. Could even break before the pikes even reach them. And these 3 are kind of moved into position. So they'll make line, prepare to fire. Yeah, the enemy was broken before the pikes reached them. And the line infantry can follow after, they'll follow up here. And they'll follow there. And these can kinda go there. Oh yes, the cannons. They should be out of range for everything now. Except kinda here. There's no point in firing at this point. Keep on blasting this. Actually, fire at the irregulars. Cossack infantry has been reduced to half its original size. And now the pike formation is crossing. Oh, we've got some units that are actually running out of ammo at this point. Let's continue forward with the pikes. And same through here. Have to turn off the howitzers at this point so we don't blow up our own pikes. I think we can get the Cossacks to retreat before we reach them. They are firing a little bit, but why are these guys not firing? And now I'll tell the howitzers to hold fire. Cossacks are withdrawing. Pikes will charge over here. Pikes will charge over here. And the one Moscow Dragoon regiment is actually trying to charge the pikes. They are charging from the back though. Probably causing confusion in among the pikes as they're charging forward. But then again, the Dragoons are getting hit by fire from the back here. So they are in turn kinda sandwiched. And if I turn the pikes against them, then yeah, they're down to 36 men. Quickly slaughtered. And the pikes will continue forward. As we kind of saw in the setup of the enemy army, most of their units, or most of their cavalry was kind of in the bottom. So the fact that we've reached a state where it's mostly just cavalry coming in to reinforce kind of means that this is the last of the troops that are coming through. And I think once I've actually reached the point here, we'll end the video, because I'll be just sniping them as they move into onto the map. Okay, they're retreating, and now I want the pikes to move forward up the hill and get that last unit here, which is a Dragoon regiment. One of the more modern looking Russian units that we've seen on this battlefield, which is facing the oldest of my veterans, the pike infantry. It's going to be an absolute mess among pike and cavalry, and I don't think the cavalry will really stand a chance against this overwhelming amount of pike infantry. And it's just more dragoons and cavalry coming in into the battlefield. So the Russians are surely done for. Some of the bigger units, what we can do is actually do multiple ranks. And there's no way the enemy's gonna get through this. Anyways, I think this will be it then. So we'll jump back onto the campaign map with total victory. And here we have the results. Battle, both armies starting off with just shy of 10,000 men each. We lost 3,332, while the enemy lost about twice as many, 6,000. 6,000 remain on our side, while only 3,000 remain on the enemy side. And most importantly, we were able to cross the bridge and are now able to lay siege to the town. Most kills goes to 2 pike units, then we got loads of line infantry picking up the rest. Oh, they even abandoned the town to retreat further down, possibly towards Stravpol, the pleasure garden. Which, gonna ask these demand surrender. And they accept. They don't want to get completely overrun by the Polish-Lithuanian army. The enemy army pulled back here. A lot of the units have survived. And I guess they are going to possibly get support from their Georgian allies, possibly. Which is definitely going to halt our advance. But we took the town, and that's all that matters. Next time we might do Ukraine, or as I want to switch back and forth, We could do either this small battle here, or we could do maneuvers here, which I think these maneuvers here is probably going to be the more interesting ones, because we'll go into field battles. We'll wait for the enemy to sally forth here and here. And possibly Ukraine as well. And Moscow eventually. But with that said, we're going to end the video right here, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye!